Morning, Joe. Morning, Jamie. How you guys doing?
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Ben. Guys, always got the TLC swag going on. Makes the marketing half of me proud.
We're official.
Always branding. Always branding. Yep. What's happening? Anything good?
Good. Yeah. All things are good. Freight world is still jamming, busy.
Yeah.
Yep. Good. Absolutely. So
good. You were talking a little bit before we got started here that you're seeing a little bit of a kind of a mixed bag with results in the freight world. Some folks optimistic, some folks seeing the other side of the coin. What's happening in the freight world these days? It's first week of March, so we got 2 good months under our belt here. What's happening?
Yeah, I think especially for TLC, February was pretty solid. Kind of continued from January where we saw strong results. So knock on wood, hopefully that continues. Because last year, I think, as we were talking, we kind of saw February following up January kind of fell off a cliff a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then I think a lot of people were looking around for some answers that unfortunately no one really had that crystal ball to find out what was going on. So
sure.
I think we're trending in the right direction and rebounding. I think we're still seeing, as we talked about in the last episode, contracted versus spot rates, kind of where that dichotomy is. And I think we're still seeing that the spot market is pretty strong. And I think a lot of carriers are leaning on that as a good indicator of where we're going. So
sure. Yeah. And you mentioned maybe, some specific kind of sectors or depending on what kind of freight you're handling these days, maybe doing a little bit better, a little bit worse.
Yeah. So I think, on the whole, you're seeing, some LTL companies are saying, they were up 20% or so in February. You're seeing others, especially in the full truckloads, the liquid bulk, might have started February a little bit slow. I think for the most part, most of them had a strong finish, but it's all, it'll deviate based on, what industries you're working with, how they're doing, and just in general, how
sure.
different flows work.
Yep. Yeah, it's a good point thinking about last year too. I think January is always decently strong. You come back from Christmas break and New Year and all that fun stuff, and everyone needs some inventory here and there. But you're right, last year, thinking back on it, it fell off in February and kind of just stayed at those lower levels for the whole year. And, even on the TCC side, where I think we're seeing a lot of the same, that, January's pretty strong, February's pretty strong, and I think, March is looking pretty good to start too. So
yeah, maybe
a positive sign, at least for the first half of the year here.
Like I said, knock on wood, and I think we're going to be getting into the trade show and conference time of year. So that only means, again, get all those salespeople together, and we can conjure up some great ideas and hopefully get some POs out of the deal. But
that's the conjuring great ideas with TLC. It's like a Harry Potter movie with TLC.
There you go.
You were talking about freight rates a little bit. What are you guys seeing on some lanes? I know we've seen, some, at least for some of my customers, I've seen, freight rates improving, but I know in some of the long hauls, we've seen maybe some quite expensive freight rates. What's happening on some of the line haul rates these days, and how you guys seeing rates in general?
Yeah, again, contracted versus spot, right? So regionally speaking, I think, especially in the liquid bulk realm, rates are only going up. I think fuel's kind of driving that a little bit. We're seeing kind of a steady uptick in fuel. So that will certainly dictate where the rates are going to be going. But overall, I think it's a good indication of where the market is in the capacity realm. If as rates kind of are ticking up, that only means that more stuff is moving. So
sure.
It's not always great news to, it impacts everybody's bottom line, but it is good news in the sense that stuff is moving and hopefully we're seeing an uptick in overall business. So, on the other side.
And as far as what particular lanes, I think we're going to continue to see every winter you have the northern states, the Northeast, usually those heading into the Northeast, heading north is usually more expensive, right? So sure. I think we're going to see that start to flip around more into the spring, summer status of that, so we should get some better rates coming back south or north,
just in time for agricultural season.
There you go. Yep. There you go. Any better, any worse with some of the rail stuff? Is it kind of status quo? Any more demand, less demand? Has it been more difficult, less difficult, kind of moving stuff that way? Or
rail's been kind of status quo. I think some lanes, we're seeing a little bit more lead time on some of those shipments,
sure.
But we might have, it's always plus or minus a few days, right? So it might be, plus a week right now, but some lanes that's not a horrible amount of time. It's just, it really depends on where it is, what lines you're working with. Yep. Some are moving better than others.
Yep.
Texas, Mexico seems to be quieting down a little bit, so it's always positive news.
Yep.
Yeah, that is. And then I think one of the big things to keep an eye on as we head, through the summer and heading into the fall is believe it's October, there's a labor agreement that's going to come up with the port workers on the East Coast mainly.
Okay.
I think it extends in towards Houston as well. So just something to keep an eye on, and any imports you might have. That there's a lot of ports that are on the list. I want to say it's Houston, New Orleans, Savannah, like Norfolk and New Jersey or something.
So just all the big ones, no big deal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Perfect.
So just something to keep an eye on for. I think it's around October 1.
Okay.
But
sure.
As we've seen every year, we have these labor agreements. It seems just a never-ending cycle of who's threatening to strike now.
Yeah,
so.
Right. And I guess along the same lines, I think even if you're not in the freight world, you've seen obviously the Red Sea and the Panama Canal and the Houthis and everything else going on. How do you continue to see issues with ocean freight? Is that, I know you guys, it's not a huge part of your business, but is that still something you guys are keeping a close eye on and seeing, issues with?
Yeah, I think from the import-export side, it's still something that is a big, banner item right now.
Yeah.
But something to really keep an eye on is everything coming from China. I think that has only started to see an uptick, and it's definitely something to keep an eye on going forward, obviously, with the tariff that makes some of that a little less favorable in the sense of importing. But, I think if you're kind of blowing that out 2, 3, 4 months, it's something to definitely keep an eye on. And I would say, as of right now, lock in whatever you can sooner than later, and hopefully you get your product.
Yeah, and I think we touched on it a little bit the last time we were on, but I think it just, again, will push towards, the Latin America, South America. I think a lot of that will remain very important for the next year or so.
Sure.
And, so a lot of that is shorter lead times too, so that could help from that standpoint. I think it's to go from, say, Brazil to New Jersey, I think that's like 12 days on the water or something. You're not looking at 2 months or so, right, as you might be from, Asia or the Middle East.
Sure. Yeah, no, we talked in the last episode. I think some of that news came out that Mexico took over China as the number 1 trade partner with the U.S. So, I think you're right. We'll see a lot of the Latin American regions, continue to be a big part of TCC's, or not just TCC, but the U.S. Supply and export business, because it's easier. Logistics is easier and quicker lead times. So it's early March, so before we see you guys again, we will see you down in Texas.
Yeah.
Coming up here soon, which is crazy.
San Antonio.
This will be, I don't know what number AFPM for you. I know it'll be your first AFPM, so big week down there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Be busy. Yeah. Meetings are already stacking up, but got a few slots open for anybody that's still looking to get their freight moving. Should be good, exciting time.
Gonna be first AFPM is always a fun one. I remember thinking back and I was like, you don't really know what you're kind of walking. It's unlike any other show or conference or event that we really do. It's just kind of organized chaos, but you get a lot done. You have a lot of conversations in a short period of time. It's a lot of running around, but it's a lot of fun. I always really enjoy it.
It's always funny seeing people walk up and down the Riverwalk that you're, clearly going to or from a meeting, and you're like, you too, huh? All right. Yep. It's very identifiable.
Yep. Yeah, we go from the cool weather up here and all of a sudden it's 82 degrees and you're running around a suit jacket or whatever.
I don't know if I'm quite prepared for that yet, but
yeah.
You never really
see.
are. You never really are. Well, any final thoughts? Anything button up on the freight side these days?
No, honestly, lead times are everything. So, from a freight perspective, we always appreciate that because that always gives us time to make sure that everything is, put out there in the most cost-effective, timely fashion. So that's no news to anybody, but from our side, that's always the best way to deliver anything we can.
Yeah, and I think I would just say that the other thing to keep in mind, whether you're purchasing chemicals, any shipping products, whatever you're doing, is just we talk a lot about these conflicts in the Red Sea or Asia, anything like that. A lot of the time, these conflicts create other opportunities out of them. So just, I guess you just kind of have to be on the lookout for those.
Sure.
An optimistic Jamie this morning.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
very
nice.
I can surprise you.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate the update as always. And we will see you down in San Antonio, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, bud.